Let me tell you about. Okay, you just got up and you have a 2014 NCAA tournament chair you're sitting in, right?
Oh yeah,
Right. You didn't realize it, did you?
that's right.
That's probably a chair you coached in. What's your first
Yeah.
year at Notre Dame College, Sonny?
I believe 11-12 season. It was the
11,
first
12?
year of Division Two. The
It was
first year we went into Division Two.
from NAIA because they transitioned, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So 11-12 season. Um, yeah, 11-12.
Are you
When Joey Davis first came in, that's when I came in.
okay? Are you ready for a quick trivia question?
I guess so. Let's do it.
Who is the last team to win NAIA Wrestling National Championships not named Grandview?
Notre Dame.
Do you realize that?
Dude, that's crazy.
They're pretty good, dude. They're like
They
you
are.
guys. They're like you guys that like they get the talent like you guys get.
Yeah, they do a great job. That Iowa feeding over there is phenomenal, right?
Yeah, man.
And I think that coach does a
Coach
great job.
Coach
I
Mitchell.
mean, yeah, he's doing a good job. I mean, you can tell the coaches that run great programs, and you can just see at the tournaments, if national duels, things like that, how his guys around him carry him, right? And the respect is there. He's doing something good. He's doing something really good. He's doing something that I think nobody else has done. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, they're killing it, dude. You guys were
That's
in
why
NAIA. That's the last time they didn't win. I don't even know if they, that's so crazy.
I know.
It's so
It's
crazy
crazy.
because you've been in D2 for a decade.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've been at Notre Dame 8 years now.
Yeah, just under a decade, right? And
Yeah,
and and you saw it, like you saw the meteoric rise, right? Like you guys, you get in D2 and within 2 years you win it. Within
yeah,
2 years, well, 3 calendar years, but like within 2 seasons, you guys are the champs of Division Two NCAA. That's amazing. Like, and the recruiting classes, and I think like if you just look at like the old school recruiting, Anthony Ralph, obviously, Tom Ryan didn't pick his name out of a hat, and I know you and Anthony are pretty close, right?
yeah, for sure. Real close.
The recruiting and what you guys have done with the job recruiting and putting the team on the mat, it amazes me every year, Sonny.
Yeah, it's from the inside. You got to have the people on the inside to make anything work, anything, right? So I think that's where Notre Dame's lucky, and I'm lucky in the program, and everybody that's came through the program, like Anthony Ralph and any of those guys, Coach Romano, to deal with all of us, Zeb, and to deal with all of us. You got to be a special program, right?
Yeah, but Northeast Ohio does. You're a Northeast Ohio guy. You're a North Canton. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you were a Hoover Viking as a freshman, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
Brian Dolph's a Hoover Viking. And what's crazy to me is two of the all-time greatest guys to wrestle for North Canton Hoover never won state there.
Correct.
Isn't that wild?
Right. Yeah, I know.
Were you runner-up as a freshman?
Yeah, I was a runner-up as a freshman, and I believe Brian took third his senior year.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Brian was
Right.
third, baby, once, right?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So yeah, that just North Canton was a great place as well. I grew up there, and the coach Walt Talarchuk is the guru that made North Canton wrestling. So he taught me my foundation, and I'm sure if you talk to Brian, he would probably tell you the same thing. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Walt Talarchuk. I was thinking of something the other day, and it always has like rumbled through my head since he told me. I was a freshman in high school there, and Walter Clark, Trick Mr. T, we called him. You know, he told me, he's like, Sonny, you know, take this in a good way, but you're going to be a wrestling bum. And right off the bat, I'm like, wrestling bum? Like, you call me a bum, coach? And it was far from that. You know, it's totally far from that. His point was, you know, I can see you love the sport of wrestling so much that, you know, I mean, I wrestled a couple days ago. And I know what he meant by it. I am a wrestling bum, and I'll be one the rest of my life. As far as wrestling wise, you know, I love to wrestle. I love the sport. And I think he just meant, like, I'm sure you'll live and die by this sport, is what he meant. And, you know, I think the true love of the sport. So, yeah, he taught a lot. My entire foundation was built around Mr. T at North Canton.
So here's what's crazy about, I got to point this out to you. What made Sonny Marchette not a wrestling bum? Are you ready? Actually, it's funny. I got a friend. We call people who like never get away from the sport and they don't have like official capacities and they're just always around. We call them wrestling. Right. We call them wrestling hobos.
Oh, okay.
And what makes you not a wrestling hobo? To me, dude, like you inspired me 3 years ago, whenever it was, you really inspired me. And probably the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. Whether it be as a father, as a coach, as an athlete, as a mentor to kids, you got a degree at like 39 years old.
And had another child and moved into a house that same year. That brought me.
That's what's cool. Is that the hardest thing you've done?
Yes. You know, I think for me, hardest thing I've done that I've completed. Maybe that's a better way to put it. It's probably the hardest thing that I've done. It is the hardest thing I've done that I've completed. In that year, I almost wrestled, Zeb. I was full time, so it wasn't like I was taking one class. I had 4 classes.
You were a full-time 12 credit hour student.
My senior year, which was 2 years ago. My last semester, actually not the last semester, the entire last year, I was full time. I was 4 classes, 12 credits, and we actually looked into me competing.
Could you have? I know that Contos did a couple years ago. Contos did at Dubuque a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. So we looked into it. I got a physical. I did the testing and everything. So the only reason why I wasn't able is because I'm a paid full-time staff member at the institution. So you couldn't do it.
Your family, you would have had to like get your job cut. You'd have to do a bunch, and then your fringe benefit. Do they do fringe benefits? Does your school count as a fringe benefit?
Yeah.
Okay, so like then you'd have to pay for school, or they'd have to give you a scholarship. It would have been a logistical mess. It wouldn't have made any sense for you.
Correct. So the only reason why I was going to do it, I was just going to do it for one match. I would never have taken a spot from one of my own guys either. You know, I wouldn't have done that. You know, at the time I was 39, 40. So, you know, I would have tried to Mike Tyson it, right? Come back for one last exhibition. That's all I want.
Except for he's only going to get paid like he's only going to get paid like $50 or $100 million to come back and do that one fight, right?
I'd do it for free.
That's the thing. Like you guys just love it, man. You love it. That's what I love about it is that you love it so much. I mean, dude, you're so passionate about it. I've come to the practices, and you know I've come to practice in the last 4 or 5 years, and you're still doing the whole practice. You're doing all the drilling. You're doing all the live, and you're coaching. And do you still do that much now as a head coach?
No, I can't. Plus, I got 2 guys that are young, with Corey Stainbrook and Nate Skenesny that coach right along with me, and those guys are the young bucks that work every day um, and wrestle and drill and kind of do the same format that I was doing. No, I got to do that on my own now. I've moved, I think, to the next stage of wrestling, working out, which is hitting a heavy bag and doing it on my own time. That way, things as a head coach for me are a lot, different. Scheduling practices and running it and things like that. So that the head coaching position, I love because I've been able to change what I do, in an easier format, kind of.
So he calls you a wrestling bum. You're 14 or 15 years old. This guy calls you a wrestling bum. Talarchuk calls you a wrestling bum. Did you ever see yourself as a head coach at an NCAA D2 program? Is that ever even a thought that crossed your mind, Sonny?
That's a tough question. No, it didn't. If you asked me then, I was planning on being an Olympic champion, world champ, and a whole bit. Just like all the other, top young kids out there. So no, I wasn't. I didn't really think. I knew I'd wrestle. I knew I'd compete. My whole life. So it's what I love to do. I'd get up, work out. That's what I did this morning. So I was a little bit late. Getting up, hitting the bag, and boxing and stuff like that's been a big part of my life of training. So yeah, I've tried to alternate all my workouts. Now I'm into scooters and skateboard and bikes and things like that because of my little guy. But yeah, I've always been into other stuff as well. I played tennis. Actually, when I was in junior college, I was on the golf team the week after I won the national title.
Are you serious?
In Chico. Yeah, I was in Chico, California, on the golf links.
NorCal, as they like to call it.
Beautiful NorCal.
Dude, NorCal is where it's at. And what I don't get is that they call the Bay Area and they call Sacramento NorCal. To me, that's not really NorCal because I do a lot of traveling in California. NorCal to me is like weed. It's Chico. What?
Or Humboldt.
Humboldt. We did the King Range out there. My wife and I did like a Pacific Coast on the King Range. We did like a 26-mile hike there. White Thorn, Fort Bragg. NorCal to me is like the state of
Truckee.
Truckee.
Getting into Reno almost.
Yeah, because Truckee is like Tahoe almost.
Right.
And but yeah, like I don't consider that because you went to Lassen, right? You went to Lassen Junior College.
Yeah, that's pretty north.
That's north.
North. That's why I say we always flew into Reno, Nevada, and then drove an hour and 15 minutes through Truckee and
Donner Pass. That's Donner Pass, dude.
Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's where the people, where they took a shortcut, they got 7 feet of snow on them, and then they had to eat each other. That's where it is.
Yeah, past that every time.
George Donner and Tamsin Donner. That is, I teach about that. We're actually,
really?
Yeah. I taught about it a couple weeks ago. I did a online lecture. We didn't really get into it as much this year with it being online, but like when I'm in class and I can talk to the kids about it, when they rolled up on them, there was like a 5-gallon, like a stew pot with human blood. When the rescue party finally got to the Donner Party. But that's where you went to junior college, right over there.
Yeah.
It's about an hour from that, right? Because Truckee's closer to Lassen.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so that's NorCal to me because like we go to Reno and Tahoe and we do vacation stuff there. And I've driven out west a couple times. I saw Colin Moore just did a trip across the country. My brother just did a trip out there with Hayden Brawny and Nick Mason. Just literally did a trip with my brother out there. Literally, they got back last Friday.
Why not?
Yeah,
Why
no,
not?
yeah. My brother ran a load of steel out to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington, and then
Yeah.
they hit the redwoods, they hit the Pacific Coast 101, they did all the NorCal stuff, but they said everything was super weird because it was closed down. They went to the redwoods. They slept a night in the redwoods. The Bronny and Mason set a tent up on the side of a mountain, and my brother, he's a wimp, he slept in the Tahoe that they had. And then some lady was like, "Oh, you guys aren't walking around here, are you?" And they're like, "Oh no, we're good."
We're no.
Yeah, no, it's quarantine. We don't want anybody to get sick out here with nobody else in this hundreds of square miles of wilderness. We don't want anybody to get sick.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
Where oxygen and
yeah, where there's no people to make us sick. Maybe the trees will make you sick. I don't know. But what was the, why? Okay, first things first. You got a Walsh shirt on. All your assistant coaches are Walsh. You started at North Canton Hoover. What was the move to Walsh about? Let's hit rewind. Let's just rewind.
okay.
How'd you end up at Walsh from Hoover?
Yep. Bottom line is I was at North Canton, and then Walter Larchik was a phenomenal coach. And then what basically happened is my dad passed away, right? So died my freshman year, had pancreas cancer. Hold on, buddy. Had pancreatic cancer, and my coach Walter Larchik was at that time technically retiring to North Carolina. 1 second. Really? Hello?
Don't worry about it. Hey, don't worry.
Yeah,
Two
no,
little
so-
maniacs are gonna pop in here. Don't worry.
Right.
Name of the game. Trust me.
Well, it's working at home, right?
Yeah, it's what happens, dude.
With kids and
Yeah.
so yeah, no, and then Walter Larchik was going to North Carolina, where his daughter is from, and so he was leaving North Canton. So I probably only had him for a year anyway, and then with my dad, that happened, and
How old were you when your dad passed away? 15?
yeah, I was 15.
And okay, so in that instance, in that year, dad passed away, Talarchuk left. Did you had to feel like almost like and this was a part of his plan? He had a daughter down there, and you can't always change your life for students and kids you coach, but you almost had to feel a little abandoned, man. Like that's tough.
Yeah, it was tough. It was super tough. It was so tough, and people probably make fun of me for this, but I think that's where I got involved in boxing, because I'm not kidding. I wanted to so bad find where Mike Tyson lived in Ohio, in Columbus, and knock on his freaking door and be like, "Hey, you need to come outside. We need to talk. I think I might be a little bit like you." His coach left, and and things like that. So it just it was tough. It was real tough, but Bill Barger, Walsh Jesuit, they've been a family of mine my whole life as well. So North Akron is where I grew up wrestling, and it was second nature just to go to Walsh. It really was. So the transfer over was not tough at all, going from North Canton as a freshman to Walsh Jesuit, because of the friends, family, and coaches that I had there as well. The transition was easy on that part, and then I had really good friends right away, lifelong friends.
Did you didn't wrestle as a sophomore? Did you get hurt?
Yeah, I wrestled.
You did wrestle. What year did your junior year you got hurt?
Mm-mm.
What year did you not? You're a two-time state champ.
Two-time.
Yeah. Okay. What year didn't you?
The crazy part that most people probably don't know either, won't matter, but you asked about the freshman year and all that stuff that happened. So I believe it was state tournament in March, right? Okay. State tournament in March. And then after the state tournament, I take second there. My dad's really sick. And then I'm training for the cadet world team trials, right? Out in
Chicago,
right? In Chicago there. So at Northwestern. And I would say, so I wrestled there. I beat Adam Carapelli. I beat Griffin Powell, some pretty tough kids. And then I have a guy named Kel Sanderson, I believe in the finals. Oh, yeah. So he beat me, I think. Well, I know he got on top at the end, but I don't believe there was a takedown involved at all. So
was it a 2 out of 3 then, Sonny? Was it a 2 out of 3? Or just one match?
One.
Okay.
So wrestled him in the finals, and then it was probably within minutes, if not already happened, that my dad actually did pass away. So when I was wrestling Kale, pretty much, that's what was going on. So I lose to Kale in the World Team Trials, cadets, and literally drive home right from there that night. And, before we pulled my house, my coach had to call me or had to pull over. He's driving me home and he can't pull in the driveway because there's, 1,000 cars.
Did you? So you didn't know in Chicago. You don't find out until you get back to North Canton.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So that's 8-10 hours after the fact. Whereas now with cell phones, you'd know everything. That's what I don't think kids realize today. You know what I mean?
The way I look at it, it must have been so hard for my coach to tell me that. Now that I'm a coach on my side, and that's probably why I'm pretty close with my guys, but I couldn't imagine having to tell, a young kid that situation right before he, pulls in his own door, because there's all these cars. So I'm going to know pulling in. And so the decision he probably had to make where, hey, I don't know if I should be the one telling them or what, but yet I can't have this young man walk in his own house and find out that way either.
Who was the coach?
Walt Talarchek.
It was Walt.
Mm-hmm.
He took you to Chicago. He was on his way out the door. That's probably May then, right? This guy's retiring and moving to North Carolina, right? I mean,
yeah. So no, that back then the trials and all that was in April.
It was April, okay, but yeah, he's on his way out the door. He's retiring in a month, right?
So my birthday is April 7th, so it was like all of this happened on my 16th birthday.
Jeez, oh Pete.
Literally my 16th birthday.
Jeez, oh Pete.
Lose the world trials, which was my lifelong goal, because the year before I lost to Eric Guerrero.
Oh my God.
Finals, and it broke my heart. I was so pissed. And then I trained like a madman that next year to try and make the cadet world team, and then I lose to Kale in the finals. But
so as a freshman in high school, you lost to Guerrero. As a sophomore, you lost to Sanderson. 8th grader, you lost to Guerrero. 9th grader, you lost to Sanderson. Why didn't you get to wrestle the 1 year at Walsh?
I did.
But you won 2 state titles.
Yeah, so at state duels, sophomore year state duels, it was at Wadsworth High School. We were wrestling Pickerington.
It was just Pickerington then. It wasn't North and East or whatever then. It was just one school.
That's where what's his name went to school.
Brad Harris.
Yeah, Brad, and not just Brad, but the other kid was really tough. I wrestled him. It was like a 2-time.
Keaton Anderson. Keaton,
you got it. Keaton. So I was wrestling one of them and blew out my ACL in the middle of the match.
That's what it was. Okay. I knew there was an injury. So that was your sophomore year or your junior year?
That was my sophomore year. But I did finish the match, and I tech-falled the kid. That was important to me. I'll never forget the
You
doctor on
maniac.
the mat telling Bill Barger, he's done. He is done. Like, his knee is done. And then I think I flipped out on both Bill and the doctor and told him probably to move nicely. And I went back down and finished the match and got my tech fall. And then, you know, after the match, my knee was humongous.
Jeez, oh Pete.
So, yeah, that whole, you know, that whole stretch was, it was moving.
That was like a year within, that's like 8 or 10, 9 months in between losing your dad and then you get this like horrific injury in your life. What's it like, Sonny, when you're like, and I know I tore my ACL as well. And, you know, I was a 3-sport athlete and it was tough. But what was it like for you, man? Like being off your feet for 2 or 3 months?
I don't know if I was off my feet for that long. I think I was off my feet for a month. I was a maniac back then. I would have considered having a torn ACL, and you know, I remember about a month and a half afterwards, you know, meeting with Clint Musser at Penn State, and you know, jumping off the quarry. You know, at Penn State, the quarry there. It was sweet. It was like Beat Gym TV back there, and I have this, you know, brace on my entire leg going from my hip to my ankle. And Clint, you know, met up with some guys, and you know, they're at the quarry, and you know, it was just like Beat Gym TV hanging out.
Yeah.
And so the next thing you know, Clint looks over, and I'm at the top of the mountain type deal, and in the air.
With your demobilizer on your leg.
Yeah, and he's like, oh my, you know, what is going on? I'm supposed to kind of watch you, right? And then he looks over, I'm climbing up a rock, like a huge rock, Quarry Mountain type deal. And he was just like, oh my gosh. So after that, you know, I kind of, you know, just took it off. I was wrestling within a couple, you know, months, but officially couldn't compete or anything like that.
And then as a junior, when did you start wrestling Billman? When did the rivalry start with Billman? Obviously, you had a bunch of rivalries, a bunch of really good guys, but the Jamar Billman rivalry with Sonny Marchette is like the one that a lot of people think of as like the greatest Ohio PA rivalry, right? When did that start? Your junior year, your sophomore? When did you guys start banging heads?
It was at a Christmas tournament in, I think, Bethlehem, PA. And it would have probably, I think, my sophomore year. Technically, I think the first time I wrestled him, it was at a dual Christmas holiday tournament. And I remember going through the lineup with the coaches and the wrestlers. And I believe Frank Favaro wrestled him the year before and might have beat him kind of gig. Or really close, or somebody beat. So it was like, all right, you got Billman, and I didn't know who he was at the time. And it was like, okay, you know, I'll go wrestle him and do my thing. And they beat me. So it was like, okay, well, that's going to, you know, that can't happen. So I don't know. Then I end up getting hurt, you know, later on in the season. But I don't think I came across him again until probably Ironman my junior year in the finals. So I wrestled him in the junior year, or my junior year in the finals, and beat him. So 3-1 or 3-2 or whatever the score was, beat him in the Ironman finals as a junior. And then we wrestle, you know, a couple times in the freestyle in the summertime, and, you know, go back and forth and type deal. And then we go to battle for the next year, senior year, big year, who's number 1 in the country, and, you know, back and forth, number 1, number 2. And then we meet in the Ironman finals, which was a really big, you know, type deal. And he beat me 3-2, 4-2, by takedown type deal. And then that summer we wrestle at Fargo in the semis for the junior nationals. I beat them there, and then made the finals and won Fargo and beat Carr in the finals. And then wrestle freestyle back and forth, and then wrestle my very last match in 2004 at the U.S. Open, and my very last match was against Tim. So, me and him came full circle. I think the cool thing was, we were like two of the same kind of kids in a way. I think that's what was pretty cool. There wasn't really, an opposite. We were both badasses, fast, quick. We like mirrored each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a battle to see who is probably, the best at that time. So I think that was pretty neat. And inside, me and Jamar talked a lot. We were friends. We loved it. And we would mess with each other. And, after he beat me my senior year, I sat down next to him and his dad at the Ironman in the, watching the finals. And I'm like, dude, what was that move? What did you do? So he did the patented slide by.
He hit with a slide by.
Yeah, he hit me with a slide by back then. So, yeah, we became really good friends at that time and trained together after that. And so it was a pretty neat deal.
You guys recently, were you at the Ironman for the anniversary of that match with him? Were you there?
Yeah.
And you guys talk?
Yeah.
What's he up to now? What's Jamar Billman do now?
Well, he's the head coach for Easton.
He's the head coach at Easton now, huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Full circle for two freaking absolute maniacs. And he was a two-time All-American. I think, was it once for Penn State, once for Lock Haven? Am I wrong there?
It was either that or Colette, right?
No, I think he might have. No, I think he followed like a pretty similar path, actually.
Yeah, I think he did.
I know he was an All-American, at least for Penn State once. I want to say Lock Haven, too. I could be wrong.
Because when Nationals were in Cleveland, was that 97, 98?
98. It was 98. He was a true freshman.
Dude, two freshmen, and he was like on a tear. I don't know if he beat McGinnis or he was doing some pretty good things back then.
Yeah, he was a freak, dude. So, okay, let's talk about freaks. Let's talk about the Junior College National Championship picture that just recently showed up online. I sent it to you. It's you. It's Tony Davis. I think Claudel Ruffin. I think I remember the Claudel Ruffin guy. He was national champ then. Cormier, Lesnar. What? Say it again.
Johnny McGee.
Johnny McGee. What a freak.
Yeah.
So, but like the big one, obviously the big stars now are, dude, one of the biggest stars on the planet, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And then Daniel, I see Daniel on ESPN. He's calling all those ESPN fights right now. All those fights, those quarantine fights, Daniel's calling all of them. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I seen him in the cage there. I try to follow a lot of the UFC and stuff, and he was at the Ironman last year, and I was able to hang out with him a little bit. And,
Daniel's cool. He's a cool guy.
He's a cool guy. He's a wrestler.
Yeah, he's a wrestler. He's a cool guy.
He's a wrestler that, I think his personality, what makes him special is his personality stayed true to wrestler. Obviously he's a badass, fighter.
Yeah.
The best of all time. But I think as a wrestler, he took the top-notch wrestling format, mentality, and he was a big representative for it anyway because he was on Olympic teams and things like that. So he was kind of our high-end push.
Yeah, he really was. He really was.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you had Couture, Mark Coleman, Randleman, right? Like, but now he kind of took the torch from those guys, and he evolved. He evolved more than those guys did. I think. I think he's a better athlete than those guys. I don't know if he's tougher than those guys, but I think him and Stipe are better athletes than those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, Mark Coleman and those cats, from before were one of the top athletes.
It's what my brother said. My brother said Mark Coleman was like a really good athlete.
Yeah,
he said he was.
Those guys could, do anything. They could probably even do standing backflips back.
Yeah, they're freaks. But I think Daniel's even a better athlete than those guys, and I think Stipe's a better athlete, in my opinion.
Well, I think Cormier is that wrestler, that puts in the work. I don't know if he's a better athlete as my definition of an athlete that would be able to do like every other sport.
Okay, Stipe goes and he can hit bombs out of freaking Progressive Field, Jacobs Field. Right? Stipe can probably dunk a basketball reverse. He's a big, gigantic, athletic guy. Whereas Daniel's shorter than I am.
I know.
Daniel's 5'10".
Yeah.
He's so powerful. But okay, so wait a minute. You guys were at the JUCOs, and then I want to talk when those guys got to sell fights. Like Daniel now is like kind of running his mouth at Stipe, but they're trying to sell fights. They're trying to sell fights, right?
Yep.
That's what they're doing. It's a business, right?
That's all they're doing.
It's a business. Like I don't think there's any real ill will between those guys. There might be, I don't know, but they're trying to sell fights. So okay, junior college has changed a lot. Let's just get back to the junior college thing. Who didn't win? TJ Williams didn't win that year. And he was runner up in that. So TJ Williams is not on the 10 champions. He's not in there because he was runner up.
He redshirted that year, but the year before
that guy beat him.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Dude, that's crazy.
I know.
Okay.
I mean, JUCO back in the day was, I don't really, I'm not in it like before, but from what I understand, back in the day, when I say that, when I wrestled in the mid-90s or early 2000, there was only one kind of JUCO league, and now it's kind of broken up into California JUCO, and then maybe like the rest of the country JUCO.
Yeah, does Lassen have a team anymore?
They do. I mean, I looked.
They're just California. They just do the California junior colleges, though.
Yeah.
You can only be if you go to a JUCO in California, you can only be state champ.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, and I think that's what they're trying to do with like. North Idaho's, they were trying to push them into some Washington league where they wouldn't go to nationals. And then obviously Iowa Central's still really good, but like I think Neosho dropped and maybe brought back. It's real weird.
It's real weird. That's why it's hard to follow. I looked at, I'm so lucky, being JUCO back then. I mean, like you said, look at the guys on the poster, how lucky. Back then. So, I remember our team, our last in team when, I was on it, and, you had guys like TJ, Reggie Wright, Shelton Benjamin.
That was your team? That was your team?
Hold on. Jamil Kelly,
that was your team?
Dude, there's so many that came in there, and it was unbelievable. Rampage Jackson was on the team.
Quentin Jackson was on your team?
Yeah. Dude, Corey Hill, he was in the first Ultimate Fighter. Like one of the first Ultimate Fighters, Corey Hill. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's so many in there. But and the funny thing is, I think I'm probably closer to them, via older age Facebook type deal. And, I chat with TJ and Reggie and, those guys and stuff like that. I'm actually decent close to them, I would say, compared to, some other people.
I'd like to ask those guys. I think you're the only one. Like Jamil's a college coach, right? Like Jamil's been at Stanford, Arizona State, a couple different places, right? Obviously, he's an Olympic silver medalist. But like, I'd like to ask those guys, hey guys, you know Sonny Marchette? Did any of you see Sonny Marchette being an NCAA D2 head coach? I'd love to just hear what they had to say because clearly, you know, dude, you had tunnel vision. You wanted to be an Olympic champion, world champion. You wanted to represent the United States, and then you know things come up, man. Life happens, right? You're pulled in other different directions. Maybe you start living the wrestling hobo lifestyle a little bit, right? Like, you know, you're running workouts here and there, and you're just trying to make a living, and maybe you're doing a side job over here as a construction guy. I don't even, you know, I can't speak for you, but I think that's what I see with a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
right. Like, what did you do from '04 to you got the job at Notre Dame?
That's a good question. A lot. You know, I think I've always had pretty good self-awareness for myself as far as like long term and where I'm at. You know, even being what I would consider, you know, maybe in my 20s, stuck in a position, you know, and just dealing with it. I really always had a long vision of, you know, I'm gonna have a family and um, you know, be successful in my own right. I didn't know, you know, where I'd go or what I would be doing, but I knew I'd be involved in wrestling one way or another because, you know, I think I'm pretty good at what I do and the people I'm with. So, you know, what did I do? 2004, I did some mixed martial arts. You know, I did the you know, not UFC, but MMA for a little bit, coached. I was a head coach at Walsh Jesuit in 2004. So 2004 to 2006, I was Walsh Jesuit head coach right after Bill. And that was fun. You know, that was awesome. Had really good experience. My coaches were Clint Musser and Jimmy Johnson. You know, my brother. I mean, we had one of the best high school coaching staffs around. And that's where like Dave Rella, you know, was able to coach him and a lot of those guys.
Mike Pasillo?
So,
Mike Pasillo?
Mike Pasillo.
Come on, man.
That's what I jumped into coaching, you know. And,
so crazy.
Yeah, you know, I've done that. I've done painting. You know, the things that I've done, painted, woodwork, all that. I'm so glad that I did it because, you know, that's what I love to do now in my spare time. You know?
That's awesome. Now you do it as like a hobby. I love it. Now it's like your hobby.
Like, yeah.
I love it.
You know, make the house and now, you know, I love it. So I knew it was gonna all go down to my wrestling career or coaching, not wrestling, but coaching career in wrestling, and this is what I'm made to do. This is definitely what I'm made to do, and everything, you know, built around me. I was involved in wrestling and, you know, other sport a lot, but, you know, I wouldn't say wrestling is everything for me. Not at all.
Well, now you got options, dude. Now if you want to go do management, if you want to go do middle upper management, I mean, obviously you have strong leadership skills. You're driven. Now I think a lot of these places make you have a degree to get those jobs.
Yes.
And you willed yourself into getting a degree as a full-time coach, full-time student, a father of two with a newborn, and a daughter. What's the age difference between the boy and the girl? 10 years?
My daughter's 11, almost 12.
So 8 years?
Will be 4. Yep.
Yeah, it's 7, 8 years apart. So it's like you got this gap between them. And you're juggling all this stuff. You're driving pretty far. You're trying to buy a house. You're doing all this stuff.
I drive an hour.
Yeah, man. It's just like, I don't know how people do it. And it's like, now it sounds like you're really thankful for the experiences as doing the manual labor stuff, working with your hands. Now you can do it. And if in 5 years you're like, I don't want to coach wrestling anymore, my body hurts real bad, you got options. Yep. You got options.
Well, and that, you know, I feel lucky in a way too, in a good position. I believe better than most. You know, as far as my perspective as being a head coach. So I'm 42 years old and I'm a brand new head coach. To me, I'm the most dangerous coach out in wrestling right now. because the knowledge that I have being in the sport for 42 years is just vast. And then the excitement I have at being a new coach is dangerous. It's super dangerous, right? Because I'm excited to be doing what I do. I'm a new coach as far as like head coach, but my drive and everything. So a lot of coaches get their first start at late 20s, early 30s, um, type deal, and guys my age like Kale Sanderson, he's been coaching I think 12, 13, 14, maybe longer, right?
Yeah.
As a head coach.
Yeah, he was
Yep.
done in '04 as a competitor, and they brought him on as an assistant coach in '04, '05, right? Yeah, so
Yep.
yeah, you're right. And then
So
he came back in 2011, right, to Russell. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
yep. So I mean, not him as far as a comparable, because obviously he's excited every year because he's doing his thing every year. But like I said, I'm 42 and I'm excited to be a head coach and do my job every day. To where a lot of people I think at 42, 45 and coaching, they're starting to get that. You're starting to see a little of the other side.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of guys slack off, and um, I'm excited to get new ideas. I pump for new ideas every day, as far as myself and my coaching staff.
Dude, my thing is like I look at you, you're like a wild man, like a bucking bronco Mustang who had to like get all this madness out of him, and then like would you agree? Like I don't know if you were ready in your mid 20s and early. I don't know if you were ready.
I wasn't.
You wanted to
No, I
wrestle
wasn't.
and fight and do all this other stuff, right? That's why I look at you.
Yeah.
You're just like you're like starting to calm down almost. But that's not what somebody would think if they went and watched you wrestle. Still
Yeah.
today.
No, calm down. As I would agree with that as far as like um, controlling myself maybe. But as far as like you know, I just think I'm lucky. So lucky, compared to others, a lot of others, just because I do have good energy and I look around at my age and I'm like, man, you know, I mean, I got good energy because I get up and train every day. My discipline is pretty tough, pretty good, I would say, and I want to make champions. And I think I do know how to make champions, and I think just doing what we do.
Sonny, why did you not go the Frankie Edgar route, the Gray Maynard route? Why was that? You were in were you NAAFS? What were you fighting in? What league?
NAAFS.
You were in NAAFS? I lost him. I gotta try and get him back. We're gonna get Sonny back here. We lost him. He must have hit it. Talk some MMA with him. I don't know if we can rejoin the meeting. We'll try to. Try and rejoin the meeting here with Sonny, and hopefully he's coming back. Trying to get him. Well, sometimes you get some tough technical difficulties here, folks. That's the name of the game. I'm gonna stay rolling here. He'll pop back in here soon. He's got some stuff going on. I love hearing the stories, man. This guy, he was on some of the all-time great junior college teams, all the great high school teams, the whole deal. Anthony Ralph, my guy, my guy, my guy. I'll splice the video together, but we're gonna get Sonny back in here. He's the guy. All right, let's see if we got him. Yes, let's admit him. Brookie Cookie. Hopefully Brookie Cookie's back, man. You back in, Brookie Cookie?
Yes, sir.
All right. So listen, I asked you the question when we cut. All the deal is I'll cut you into two parts here, or I'll merge the two together. Everything okay?
Commercial break.
Commercial break.
Yeah, commercial
Okay.
break.
Okay. So listen. First off, who's Brookie Cookie?
My daughter.
Your daughter. Big old smile. I love it. I love it. I know that you and our favorite things. I think I know I can speak for me. I can't really speak for you. Being a dad's probably my favorite thing.
Favorite thing in the world. So you asked a good question, I think, before the commercial break.
Yeah. But is being okay? I'll come back to NAAFS. I promise. Is
all good.
It is being a dad your favorite thing?
So you said, hey, you were a wild man in your 20s.
Yeah.
Right? And what changed? What kind of changed when type deal? That was it.
Yeah. That?
Having my child.
Right?
That's what changed. I knew, to say it, it's like this. When my dad passed away, I was living, right, for me, but I was still, it was a lonely time in a way. So I was still living, without my dad. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like I was living, but it was without him. So when I got married and I had a child, my daughter, Brooklyn, I would say it reawoke me into like, you can go to a dark place when, bad things happen or, unfortunate things happen. You go to a bad place a little bit or, not even a bad place, but a dark place. And then this beautiful little girl comes out, right? And it's yours.
Yeah.
And so it like gave me another life. It really did. It gave me a life to like be good all the way around for. And that's what did it.
Brookie Cookie's the game changer is what you're saying.
By far. The best thing that ever happened to me. And I think to answer your question, the best thing, right? So being an Olympian or, winning some NCAA titles and things like that were my main goal, which at that age it should be. And not doing that, but, I'd say my biggest accomplishment isn't, or isn't my degree. My biggest accomplishment is, my two kids and my wife. I believe I have a great family and from the top down, life being at the top, right? Top down. All I ever wanted was to stay in wrestling probably my whole life because I love the sport. For me, it gives me energy, makes me feel good. And then I'm able to help a lot of people, just doing what I do and knowing what I know and coming out of that. I love, as far as coaching, wrestling's for me. The workout is all for me. The training and everything. It's really all for me. I mean, I get excited of learning new things in wrestling. For me, like adding to my toys. And then giving is is a reward that you only really know until you help those in the coaching, and it's not necessarily your national champions at all. It's hard. A guy like Joey Davis, I feel like I gave a lot, but I don't know how much wrestling I really gave him.
Yeah, I think Joey Davis is going to win wherever he went, maybe.
I do too. But I think the difference is, would he have made it 4 years anywhere else?
Sure. And he finally graduated from Notre Dame College. He's graduated.
Yes,
That's huge. That to me, like, he's face punching now, right? He's face kicking and face punching. And
you don't have to.
You don't have to, exactly. Joey can go run stuff.
Have to.
Yeah.
Correct. He's a very smart guy. Joey's a super smart guy. Most people don't get the luxury to talk to him one-on-one or hang out with him for a full night. And I think anybody that does, sees the professional intelligence that he does have.
You want to say hi? No? Oh, I'm going to have
buddy.
Thomas. Thomas is a piece of work. Hey. Tom, get in here.
Come on, Thomas.
He said
I
no.
see all your YouTube stuff or your Facebook stuff.
No.
Did you go to Chagrin Falls, Thomas?
Yeah, Thomas loves Chagrin Falls. His brother really loves it. Hey, we were at Euclid Creek yesterday.
Yeah.
We were there yesterday. We're at Euclid.
So yeah, you say I got some inspiration. You got some inspiration from me, but I definitely get inspiration from you too, Jeb. Being a father of young children and knowing. I can remember sitting next to you at the Ohio State tournament when I believe I was just the head coach at Walsh, and you were there. I think just starting. With the interview and flow and things like that. And I sat next to you. So, I mean, just talking, and I don't think we definitely didn't have kids back then. But to now. So it's like, man, we knew each other back then, and now, with the kids and stuff, and, I see even your house, you made a nice home for your family.
Yeah, you got a real nice house down there in Brimfield, dude.
Yeah, I'm lucky. To be honest, all I ever wanted was a couple national championships and a nice house. My entire life, I just wanted to live in a nice house of my own.
But you do have a bunch of national championships. You've won the JUCOs, right? You won the JUCOs. You won the Junior Nationals, right? You guys were national champions as a team at Walsh. So you've won a bunch of national titles. Maybe you didn't win NCAA titles, but okay. What was the fork in the road with fighting? NAAFS. Why are you not a professional face puncher? Because you're totally ability level, driven, all of it. NAAFS is the league Stipe started in.
Correct.
So,
Jessica
yeah, I mean, she lives out there, doesn't she? She lives in Portage County, doesn't she?
She's from Portage County.
Yeah, it's from Rootstown, right?
Rootstown.
Yeah.
But I believe she lives in. I know she lives in Vegas now.
Yeah.
She moved to Vegas.
But she's Portage County.
Yeah, she is. And I helped train her a little bit.
Okay.
For 3 fights, trained her pretty good there. But why am I not? That's a good question. I struggled with that internally, for a long time. Not struggled, but it's not what I was supposed to do. I mean, I got all the skills. I remember, fighting the NAAFS when Uriah Faber was real big in the WEC, and the way I looked at it,
Thomas, go in there.
was probably me and Uriah Faber are the two baddest at that time. I wasn't on that level as far as stardom or anything, but I think ability, I definitely had that ability. Why didn't I? I would say backing, support, and probably my last little bit of screw you to the establishment, right? Kind of that last little, I'm going to do it by myself. I don't need anybody, and I don't want anybody's help. And, finishing out my 20s, I think I just had to learn that. And I went from basically 16 years old to about 26 of me. And I didn't really care what people thought or did. I'm always a good person. I don't think there's too many people out there, hopefully, say like, hey, he's just not a good person. I believe I'm a good person. The first thing I try to do is get up and pray, and before I go to bed, and so those old-fashioned, things I've always carried, but my persona maybe out to the public for those 10 years were, I really didn't need anybody. I didn't want anybody, and I think that was just an aftermath, from my father. And how that went. And then when I met my wife, Tiffany, and thought, okay, I can't be like this. I want to get married and things like that, and I got to give to her more than I'm gonna give to myself, and I got to shut my mouth too when I could have just been talking and backed it up. So I learned a lot from that, and she taught me a lot. So, and then our child, Brooklyn, and now Jagger. So, yeah, from, for those 10 years, it was, I think if somebody would have picked me up, and they tried, it was just a little too late. Dan Henderson actually reached out to me after my last fight, and King Quest out there, and I was getting ready to walk into the CBCA wrestling room and get a workout, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, and Dan Henderson and another coach called me three-way and actually invited me out to Oregon, and at the time, and the train out there with Team Quest and all them, and I had to deny it. I said, man, this must be my luck, because I can't do it. My wife at the time was 3 months pregnant, and I said, and I talked to her, and she told me to go. She actually said go. She goes, because I don't want to be with you and have you sit here 10 years later saying, hey, I regret it. You should have did that. I should have went. So it was ultimately my decision. And I decided, I believe, to stay and grow up and be an adult more, right?
Yeah.
As they said.
So sorry, my wife's scooping old Thomas up here.
No, you're good.
She's scooping him up. So here's my favorite thing. You have like zero regrets about that. That's what I love.
I have zero.
I love it because like so many people like want to be a professional face puncher, and there's not. I don't know if there's any more a person who's more built for it than you.
I agree. And I mean, to be honest, I boxed this morning. Boxing, like I told you, when I was 16 and my father passed away, and I was kind of on this high journey, right? In high school, I was doing pretty good, and I was, being praised, and, that was early 90s, and Mike Tyson was still, top dog. And so I kind of wanted to be like that, like the Mike Tyson, and I believe I kind of was. And then, I just didn't have the money or backing.
And then, so I like that you don't have any regrets about it. And I don't hear like you talk about fighting all the time. You're not like some guy who's like super into following and jockeying the UFC, even though that you can still go train with those guys. Is the crazy thing about it, because you got hands, right? You went out and trained with Joey, didn't you?
Yeah, I trained with AJ McKee, Joey Davis, Tone, the head coach, AJ's father.
He just won a fight at like 50 something, didn't he? Like 2 or 3 years ago. It's crazy.
Dude, he took me down.
What a freak!
So I went out there. I trained with the 185 Bellator champ. Thought I did okay with him, and trained with Joey and AJ McKee. Trained with those guys, sparred a little bit with those guys, definitely wrestled. And then Tone, the head coach of Body Shop, I was like, hey, let's roll. He's 52, 50,
yeah,
51 years old.
Is his kid still undefeated? His kid's undefeated, right? And Joey's undefeated.
Yep.
Unreal.
So me and him rolled. Yeah, I got a great experience out there. I mean, my goal is to be able to roll. I still watch Dan Gable and see what he's doing at his old age. And that's my goal, is to be able to hit punching bags when I'm, 65. Get up and kind of resort back to what my coach said. Hey, as a freshman in high school said, hey, you're going to be a wrestling bum. But not in that way, not in a bum way, more of the back then it was kind of like the Dave Schultz, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people who do wrestling for a living train way into their 30s and even their 40s. I feel bad because when we say wrestling bum and I say wrestling hobo, I'm not saying people who are losers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying people who are drug addicts, people who are felons. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these are people that, like, they're, as John Stutzman says, POWs, prisoners of wrestling. These are people who cannot get away from the sport, and I don't think it's a negative. It feels like it's derogatory when you say it. It can be, yeah, it can be. But at the same time, you didn't do that, though. You took another path. You took another path when you in your late 30s with 2 kids, and to be the head coach at Notre Dame College, you got to have a degree. I guess we should have. That's a barrier. That's a barrier in all the NCAA institutions. To be any paid coach that's not volunteer, you have to have a degree. You got to have a 4-year degree.
Yeah, a lot of institutions as well, you got to have a master's as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Being there, and luckily I started as a volunteer, 8 years ago. Started as a volunteer position, and then I moved up to a full-time position, second assistant, and then head assistant, and now head coach. Coming off the street more, I don't think a lot of people would have that ability to do. One, not have a degree and go and coach, and 2, some of them can't even go into coach just with a bachelor degree. Just fortunate.
Who brought you in? How'd the connection start with Notre Dame College with you? Who brought you in? Anthony, one of the guys on the team. Who brought you in? How did you make the connection with Notre Dame College?
Well, I think my light bulb went off. I know when my light bulb went off. It was Nate Skenesny was going to Iowa, right? So his dad, Mark, called me up, and he's like, hey, what are you doing Friday kind of gig? You want to go with me up to Iowa and take Nate up to school? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And at the time, I was working landscaping. So I was working landscaping at the time. Got off work on that Friday, went with Mark and Nate to Iowa, and dropped them off at the dorms for the orientation deal. So then went into Tom and Terry Brands' office, talked with those guys a little bit. And that's when my light bulb went off. To be honest, I looked at Tom at his office, and I'm looking around, and I'm just seeing how he interacts. And when I left there, in my own head, I go, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Not that what they're doing, but as far as a head coach, I can coach. I can do this. So I went home, worked the following week. My loophole was a guy named Garrett Linton that I helped coach a little bit at Richtown High School, and then he went to Notre Dame. So at work, I call up Garrett Linton and I said, "Hey, what's what's the coaches up there? I know them, but what's their numbers? Anthony Ralph gave me Anthony's number. I didn't have it at the time, and Frank, Romano. So I said, all right, give me Coach Romano's phone number as well. I kind of know him a little bit, and I know Alan. He's a pretty smart guy. So if somebody's gonna know how to coach in college, it would probably be Frank Romano. So he gave me Frank's phone number, and as I'm raking, I call up Frank. Frank, Sonny Marchette, how you doing? And ask them a simple question. Coach, how do I become a college coach? What do I got to do? And he's like, well, you got to get a degree and boom, boom, boom. And, kind of went through some stuff. And I was like, all right, sounds good. Appreciate it. Got off the phone, called my wife and said, hey, what's that online school? Online of Phoenix?
Yeah.
Online Phoenix.
Yeah.
Right? So we started looking into that. I started looking in, being, at that time in my 30s, and I had a family just starting. So I'm like, man, I should probably get college for cheap at this point, take out some loans and go that route. Well, it was that night when Anthony Ralph called me, and he's like, Sonny, dude, you want to coach here? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I go, what do I got to do? And he said, well, let me talk, but I think I can get you in. And I was like, all right, cool. So he's like, I was like, well, what's the pay? Because I didn't want to, landscape anymore. And he's like, probably about 35. And I was like, okay. Got off the phone. I was like, all right, honey, it's going to be about 35. I could probably do that. I'll work some money on the side or, train and this and that. So I could, make some money and do that. So then talked to Anthony the next day, and he's like, no, that was 3,500. And you're a volunteer.
I love it.
He's like, you're a volunteer, and it's only 3,500. And then you know how that goes. That gets dropped down because you're a volunteer when you're actually paid out. It's about 2,000.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? This is my only in. I'm going to have to stay landscaping and volunteer and do that. So I was able to do that. I worked, volunteered, and did construction. And, there was a full-time open job when Jake Pataxel left. And I was in. So I went from there.
Dude.
Yep.
You did how long did you do a full-time manual labor job and then go wrestle in the afternoon? How long did you do that for?
Ooh. In my 30s. That was all the way into my 30s. I remember Garrett Lineberger. Garrett Lineberger. So I was 36 because we were jogging at practice. And I was jogging with him at the beginning of practice. All right, start jogging. I'm jogging. And Garrett Lineberger, he's out stretching, he's holding, he's slowing things up. So I go over to him and I'm like, hey, let's go, dude, pick it up. Let's go. And he's like, hold on, man. I'm getting, I'm kind of beat up. I go, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 18. I said, well, what's double that? Now get the heck, I said some different words, but now get the freak
yeah.
run, dude. I was like, that's how old I am. double your age, and that's how old I am. Let's go.
You're old
So
enough to be his dad. You're old enough to be his dad. I love it.
Yeah. So,
Sonny is.
I would say I probably did that. Last year was my first year I did not.
Wow.
Because of head coach, I knew I'd make my change over. So it was kind of a bittersweet in my head. I knew my throw the sweatpants on with the team and jog with the team, you know, and kind of go through the vibe is kind of coming to a final end of my life. And, you know, I'm going to have to direct the ship. And I love it. You know, I've learned a different way. I've tried to research what a lot of coaches do, talk to a lot of coaches, because I got to get mine out too. You know, I don't think I'll never not be able to get mine out. So, you know, guys like Jim Miller, right, from Wartburg. I had the luxury of talking with him for a little bit at a leadership committee. Guys like that, obviously Dan Gable, and, you know, guys my age like Carol Sanderson. I try to find as many videos on him coaching as I can, even though there aren't very many.
There's not very many videos of that guy coaching.
No, and I've tried to research everything I can. So, you know, from him to, you know, the best football team out there, you know, the Patriots, and Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady's 40, 41?
Oh, no. Tom Brady's older than that, dude. He's 42, I think.
What am I doing? So he still jogs with his team.
Yeah.
Why the heck can I?
Yeah, he's not the head coach, though.
Huh?
He's not the head coach, though.
No,
he's on the team. He's playing. No. He's playing downs. Okay.
Right.
So just real quick, your brother John.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother John was a state champ for North Canton Hoover, right?
Correct. 91.
91. And how much is John? 6 years older than you?
About 7, close to 7 years. Yeah.
John did a non-traditional thing. Where did he go right out of the gate? Did he go to Tri-C? Where did he go right out of high school?
Minnesota.
So he went to Minnesota right out. And okay, John had this crazy journey, and then he came back as a 30-year-old and won the NCAAs.
30.
He was 30 years old, and he won the NCAAs for Augsburg, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of like, I don't know if a lot of non-traditional students have done what John Marchette's done.
No, not a lot at all. You know, I mean, just to go back to school, it's tough enough, like you said, at that. And then to compete is another, you know, animal altogether. So, yeah, I think our family, you know, I never looked at it like that until maybe you just said that. But, you know, I think there was, as a whole, the guys, you know, in my family, probably had about a 7-8 year, I would say a hard run, just because, you know, our father passing so young, and that direction, right? I mean, you got my older brothers. I got 2 older brothers. I'm the youngest in the family, and everybody was kind of like not sure what's going on. He was so, you know, prevalent in our family, right? As the dad of the home. Yeah, I think we all kind of just took a different route, and then, you know, probably about 6-7 years later, kind of woke up again and was like, all right, well, he won't want that. My family won't want that. And, you know, it's never too late. So I'm done feeling sorry for myself. I'm done, you know, taking my life maybe the other direction when, you know, the whole time I know what I got to do in the right direction. So if I know what to do in the right direction, it's just time for me to follow it. And, you know, like I said, for me, it was, you know, meet my wife and, you know, have my kids.
Is John, you and John are still pretty close. John still comes and hangs out at the house. And where's he living? Like Akron or something like that?
Yep.
So, and he just.
Yeah, we're super close. You know, we've always been close. You know, especially after my dad, he was my main coach all the way through. And, you know, and we've had a lot of great times too. Even when I went out the last, and he actually went out there as well and was coaching, and then got picked up. So that's how he got picked up. That's a crazy story.
How Augsburg recruited him?
Augsburg was so we're out at Lassen in California. My brother's there as a GA, or not GA, but volunteer coach. And then Augsburg coach Jeff Swenson called looking for a 25-pounder, and Jose Sanchez, our 25-pounder, that was a national champ for us that year. So I wasn't the only national champ from Lassen on that card. Our 25-pounder pinned in the finals.
Jeez,
but yeah, he's a tough dude. So, and I just spoke to him the other day. It was pretty cool. So, but he's out there, and Augsburg coach calls and says, "Hey, what's going on with Jose and looking for a 25?" And they said, "Hey, we got another 25 you might want to consider." And he's coaching out here, and that was my brother.
John was smaller than you. He was that much smaller. He was a weight. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
What did he win the NCAAs at?
33.
I was gonna say, yeah, he didn't win it at 25, right?
No. So he was always a weight class or two smaller, than me. But yeah, he got picked up there, and went to Augsburg and won a national title that next year.
Did he get a degree? Did John ever get a degree?
No. So he stayed there, won a national title, and I believe he's got probably a little more than a semester last time we talked to finish his degree, which he's an art major.
I think you can be an artist without a degree. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right.
I'm
sorry.
For
real, and he is really good, really smart with electronics and all types of stuff. I mean, comes in, hooks up my surround sound, and he just brought a go-kart over the house.
Just what you want for your 4-year-old son, 3-year-old son.
We already ripped the wheel off. We were flying down the road and the wheel fell off. But yeah, we do stuff like that. He doesn't have any kids, so he kind of lives through mine, which is cool. But some of the things he brings over for them, they're a little bit too old.
Hey, is John Marchette the Funkle? Is he the fun uncle?
Yeah.
I was that for a really long time to all my nieces and nephews. I was the Funkle, I thought.
Yeah. No, he is. He does. He builds also. You ever see those whizzers and the bicycles that have the 2 strokes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we fly around with those. That's our fun gig.
Okay, a question I've been having, and like what I saw the picture of the 97 Walsh team posted. And would you guys have 6 finalists, 5 champs?
Yep.
And you guys were national champs, and most people consider that one of the greatest teams ever in the history of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have contact with those guys?
Yeah.
And
Heskett. Well, go ahead.
And what's that contact like, and what was it like being on a team like that?
Contact wise, Heskett. My heart goes out for him. For him and his family right now, just having a stroke and battling through that. So yeah, talking with them, I can't really talk. Reach out and touch on that. We just had our 20-year reunion last year, I believe, or 2 years ago, maybe now.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Jeff Knupp and everybody. So that was really neat. Yeah, I mean, we keep in contact on different medias. Me and Heskett are, I would say, a little more closer than some of the guys just because of wrestling still.
Yeah. And he's in Ohio. You're in Ohio.
Yep.
Isn't Jeff Knupp in Texas?
Texas, yep.
Yeah.
He's pretty much like an oil tycoon in Texas.
Yeah, and where's Brad Byers at?
So I believe he's in North Carolina.
He's in North Carolina. And where's Vic? Vic in New York City?
Vic is everywhere. Vic, he was out in Colorado. I think he still lives out in Colorado, unless he moved to New York.
Is he still doing? He was a movie producer. Is that what he's still doing?
The last thing, and then I think he was singing. I think he's got like a music group.
Vic's he's a different cat.
Different cat. So what was it like? Normal. It was normal. I think maybe from the outside it might not look normal, but we were all a bunch of, we just like a melting pot, right? I mean, I was originally a North Canton guy and then came in there, but, I grew up through North Akron, so I was right in the mix right away. Brad Byers came from Hudson, I believe his senior year. And Vic Sveda, he came from Hudson too, right?
Where's Vic from? Woodridge. Was it Woodridge?
Woodridge.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think it's Woodridge.
So when Vic came in, I was his drill partner.
What?
Yeah. I beat the living crap out of Vic every day.
Vic was a 215.
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
So
okay, hold on.
With him every day.
And then my buddy, my college roommate, the oddball, the 500 wet dog sophomore, Nate Dougherty. Dude, he has the worst record for a state finalist still to this day. Did you know that?
No.
Nate was 16-14 and he made the state finals.
Wow.
Did you know that?
Yeah, Nate. No, I didn't know that.
Nate was 500, dude. He beat the Ravenna guy in the semis. He won in the quarters to go 500.
And then he wrestled
James Holmes, Holmes,
right?
He beat the defending champ in the semis.
Yeah. And then
he was like, he was 500 in the finals. He was 16. He was 16-13 going to the state finals, and then he lost. He was 16-14 on the year.
For me, I only can, probably talk for me, which is, when my experience there, I was still a loner kind of person, which means even on the team, I really didn't, I don't want to say associate, but, I did my thing in the wrestling room, in the practice room, and, outside the wrestling room, I don't think those guys hung out with me. Too much.
Do you think, okay, so here's the $1 million question. Do you think as you're into being a dad and the quote unquote loner, wild man, lost person, do you think all this stuff stems from your dad dying? Do you think that like the losing your dad as a 15-year-old, the 16th birthday, do you think that that's where it all stems from? Now you're all in on being a dad. You were a loner and you couldn't figure things out for 10, 12 years of your life. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's what it all stems from?
I think so. I really do because, me and him were really close growing up, right, till almost 16 years old. And, you're kind of, I was kind of at a, not at the peak, but I believe I was pushing the peak of becoming a really top wrestler in the country. Wrestling Guerrero in the finals, and I went to all the cadet world team trials and, stuff like that. And then, when he passed away, there was a huge void in my life in the home too. And then Walter Larchek, retired and left and went to North Carolina. So, there was I think from there I took a lot of lonely time that I don't think many kids did back then. I mean, I remember sleeping in my car in the Walsh parking lot, in training. I mean, I did those things. I'd hear stories of what, college guys were doing when I was in high school, and I kind of had the ability, not being, under watchful parents at the time, that I could kind of do what I needed to do or do what I wanted to do. So I would do stuff like that. I remember waking up, like I said, I'd park in a parking lot at Walsh Jesuit by myself, and then wake up 5:36 in the morning and go hit the stadium steps at Walsh Jesuit, and I'd fill my book bag full of books to make it heavy, and I would do the stadiums, and then I would bring out the track and field equipment, and then try to do workouts there. And then I'd go in when the school opened. I'd go into the locker room, into the football locker room, take my shower, and then go to class. And I did that regularly.
Wow.
To where my coaches, told me, be careful, don't overtrain. And I was just, I just kind of that's where I think myself, was like, all right, I'm in this, not by myself, but my wrestling journey now is me. I make the decisions, and I could have easily chose not to, really not having any, buddy like that to tell me different. So, but I think I just told myself I could either, I don't know. I really didn't tell myself. It was more of, this is the direction I'm going. I still can be the best. I can still, compete at the best. It was more of the other stuff that I think I needed at the time, which is the back, stuff. Not just being a competitor, but people behind the scenes that help, right? Just because the tiger is in the show, you got handlers.
Yeah.
Make sure the tiger is in the show. I don't think the tiger can set up the show and do the show and then leave. And that's kind of what I was at.
So you're this unbridled wild man in your 20s. How'd you never get in like big trouble? No felonies, or how did you avoid all that, man?
Like I said, so having them pass early too, I think was the one I take as a benefit is, him passing early. I've always had him everywhere. I have my dad, and, I think I'm a spiritual person like that, to where, I believe I've been a pretty good person, and that's, number one. So I knew I'd be okay. I just didn't know how in the heck I was going to do anything. I knew I had God, and, I read the Bible, and, I knew good things were going to come. It was just, how long am I going to endure it and bear it until the fruits of the labor kind of come through? And it took a long time and still going. But, not getting in trouble. A lot of close calls. Not big ones, but, a lot of close calls. And then the wrestling community, right? Just surrounding myself at any facet with the wrestling community. If I'm at a wrestling tournament or training, which I've done, I'm not out, doing whatever. So, yeah. And then when my, daughter was born, and my wife, that settled me down a whole lot.
Yeah.
Where, I probably drink once, twice a year.
Wow.
And that's probably been for the last 10 years of my life.
Where did you go? You went from Lassen to Iowa State, right? Where did you go? What was your path after that?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I went from Lassen.
If this were a timeline and people were watching it, it'd be all over. Yep. We're all over. After Lassen, after you're a junior college national champ,
I went to Iowa State. Yes.
Did you compete 2 years in JUCO? Did you do 3 years in JUCO? What'd you do in JUCO?
Just one, my freshman year, true freshman year. I wrestled JUCO, and able to win it. And then the next year I redshirted.
So you were at Lassen, and then you were out after 2 years.
Yep. Went to Iowa State, competed for them in 2000. And then, I think that was my, like you said, how did you not break, or, something like that. I think that was my breaking point when I was at Iowa State, and you really needed the next level of either support, finance, that's what I needed. And, Division I is a different animal in a way. So being as young as I was, I was lucky to have, guys like Kel Sanderson on my team. Seeing a lot of things that he had and did, and the support. What always struck me, but it was, I tell you what, this was real hard. Was after practice at Iowa State, coming downstairs to the locker room, walking out of the locker room, and guys like Kale, his mom and dad were sitting on the bench waiting for him, getting ready to take him out to dinner or whatever. And I just remember, talking with them high and everything, and I'm just like, man, none of these people have a clue, and I've never told anybody. This is the first time I've ever told anybody. But I'm like, man, you guys have no clue. I wrestled your son, and my dad died that same hour.
So wild, man. So I
You know what
mean,
I'm saying? And in my head, as I walk out, I have a feel sorry for me attitude, and like, dude, how lucky, and not putting it on him like, look at you. It was more of like, good. That's awesome. Like, that's awesome. So that's, that was a couple of times in my life where I took snapshots. That was one of them. And I'm like, man, I would love to have that.
so now you have kids that are like that. You have guys on your team who have they don't have either parent, right?
Yeah, yep.
What's that like?
And
What's that like? You can't be you got these two kids who you're the actual father to. You can only be dad to so many kids, right?
yeah, but I'll take them all. I'll take them all. And I think that's probably what carries me and my excitement, and my true passion and motivation. Wrestling, like I said, is for me, as far as learning new tactics and things like that. I still get a personal gratitude of learning new stuff, the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, or whatever. But as far as taking care of human beings in college, that's probably what I love the best. It's because that's right. What you don't have is what you want to give. So I wasn't able to have that, and I have kids like that on my team, and that's what that's what fuels me. I love it. For instance, Emilio Fowler is a kid on my team that just graduated. He was a starter on and off. Never really hit the final starting spot, going into regionals, nationals, but was always in there, always in the mix. Came to Notre Dame and self-driven guy. He's got a mom, and I'm not sure where his father is, but it kind of maybe a similar situation, right? And I see this kid, and he's a good, humble kid, works hard, shows up to everything. And, summertime when I drive up there, most people are going home. I see him past Beechwood Mall running with headphones on in the summer by himself. And he's a loner, too. So talk with him and things like that. And, a kid like that graduated this past March. And he was so upset. His senior year, he was deemed the starter until, Alonzo decided to bump up at the end, had a final wrestle off, took a spot. So as a senior, because one time to get on the stage, he got bumped out in the final wrestle off. And, this kid's no punk kid either. Comes from, I would say, the streets more, Kansas. He's from Kansas. And we had a practice after that. It was a real early wrestle off. Final wrestle off like 9 in the morning, and practice at 12 on a Saturday or Sunday. Well, that kid was at the 12 o'clock practice after he lost his senior year, his wrestle off. He was at practice at 12, head down, pissed off, but he was there on time. And then showed up to every practice after that to help the team. He was at our last practice on time. And, I really don't get too emotional when, any of our guys win a national title. Um, you know, I don't know. I've been lucky to been in a lot of those chairs, so maybe that helps. But a kid like this, you know, I did, you know, and I told him if we could do awards this year, which we can't, you know, I'd give him my own personal award, which is a Man of Honor award, in which I think is higher than any award that I could give at Notre Dame, most improved or, you know, national champion, best wrestler, or whatever. Man of Honor award means you honored yourself, you honored your family, you honored the team, and you did everything. So I gave that to him, and he's a kid that I told him, I said, man, I look up to you. You know, you did something I didn't do. And, you know, I was probably in a similar position, and I didn't do it. And for, you know, somebody like you to come into a program, 5 years, wrestled for 5 years, go to college, and I believe he graduated with above a 3.0. He sent money home to his mom from doing work study.
That's what it's all about, man. Like what you're saying about him, like the guy getting the degree, maybe, you know, he's not the starter, but like those are the guys that people really don't talk about. Those are the people that I want to do wrestling media for. Those are the people whose stories I want to tell. Those are the people's stories I want told. Like you're saying, everybody wants to see Cale Sanderson coach. Everybody wants to see him when he used to wrestle. They want to see how he trained, right? He doesn't allow a lot of access, but not a lot of people are talking about this guy. Was it Emilio Fowler?
Fowler, Fowler, Emilio Fowler.
From Kansas.
And, you know, his heart was broken because he wasn't able to wrestle, you know, on that level or on the national tournament. And I'm like, man, I'm over here almost crying because I'm more proud of you than anybody.
Did you tell this in front of the guys? Did you did you tell the guy? Did they get it? Yeah. Do you think they get it?
It's tough, you know, you're 19, all you want to do is be a national champ. So it's probably tough for them to conceive of the full perspective of that. But, you know, one of the hardest things to do, I believe, is go to college and wrestle and go to school and graduate, all within the same whole thing.
Yeah, but what about being a dad, coaching, getting a degree? I think, and then doing all the practices and doing everything everybody else is doing. I think that's the hardest thing you can do.
Yeah. Nah.
I think you did the hardest thing you can do already, man. I don't think that there's like a lot, you know, like obviously going off the war. Okay.
Right.
Kids going to the D-Day who are getting off June 6th, 1944. Right. Okay. But
I definitely got some, you know, goals ahead of me in coaching that, you know, what's the hardest thing? You know, it's not too easy winning a college national championship as a team. And I've had the luxury of being on those and coaching as well. But, you know, as being the head coach and kind of being your program, there's only 3 a year in NCAA that are crowned. And you only have 1 per division, right?
Yep.
So, you know, I was in control of me, and I think when I'm in control of me, I get all my stuff done. So it's not too hard just because it's my daily basis. But I think it's harder to control the uncontrollables and ultimately get all those people doing that same thing. That's tough. You know, we're built to get up and go to war, especially I believe our time frame and our era of who we are at 40s and plus. You know, I know you get up and you're either with your kids or doing something, working on your house.
Something. I'm doing something. I just don't lay around all day. We go do something. I got class at noon with kids. Sonny, you know, speaking of, you say there's 3 titles given away a year, right? For NCAAs. None this year. Talk me through that. Talk me through the Thursday, because you guys are a Friday, Saturday championship. You were in South Dakota this year. Mm-hmm. You guys found out Thursday before. You guys were all out in South Dakota, ready to make weight.
Yeah,
When you found out your NCAA tournament's canceled, where was Sonny Marchette, and what'd you have? 8 qualifiers, 7 qualifiers? What'd you guys have?
7, right? 7 qualifiers. So we had 7 qualifiers.
So you're going to make a run at the team title. Your heavyweight's going to win it probably. 84 or 97. Vizzetti, what weight's he?
84.
84. That guy's going to make a run. Okay. So we can go up and down the lineup. You've got at least 2 to 4 guys that can win. Not like, that's a bit of a stretch, Zeb, but in D2, you got 2 to 4 guys every year who can win it.
Yeah, Hunter Bray, I believe, had a really
Hunter Bray, there you go, 133-pounder, right? Like
Taylor Masuda took out the #1 guy in the country in regionals, Trey Grind.
Yeah. So you guys got guys 2 to 4 guys that can win it. If you have 2 to 4 champs,
we were going to win.
Yeah, you guys can win. And then you won. Was 2018 or 2017 the year you guys won? It was kind of like, I don't know if we were really supposed to win, but you won, right?
Yeah.
What year was that? What was your last title?
That was kind of our mindset going into the past season as well. We left on a Wednesday, flew out on Wednesday, got there, worked out. And then Thursday I had all types of meetings. But we set up our workout, I believe at like 1 o'clock. So get there, I had a meeting at noon. Did the meeting at noon, went okay. And then came out, seen the guys starting to practice. I had to go into a 2 o'clock meeting and then a 3 o'clock. So that's where the coaches have a meeting. But so in our final meeting, 3 o'clock meeting, they gave the wristbands for parents.
4 parents, 4 family members per kid, right?
Yep. So did all that, still, I would say it was 70% go, 30% obviously could be shut down at any time. But as far as that point, it was still go. So I came out of the meeting in the venue, came out, and the guys just got done working out, just got done. Everybody's on weight. Last official practice before weigh-ins at, 7 o'clock the next morning. So now timeline, it's 3 o'clock. I get out of the meeting, got the bands in my hands, got a couple parents even on the floor watching practice. Get done, gather up all the guys. Hey guys, we're still good, positive, everything. Hand out the bracelets. Go back to the hotel. So we go back to the hotel, and everything's still good. And send the coaches to Walmart to get some groceries for after weigh-ins for the next day. It's now about 4 o'clock, 4:30. And then when those guys went, me and the athletic trainer went and had lunch or dinner kind of deal.
Michael Heichel, my guy, Michael Heichel.
Michael Heichel, dude. Hey, he's one of the key reasons why Notre Dame wins.
Michael he's the real deal. I like him.
Dude, he's the man. He is the man. So me and Mike, we go down to the, have a burger and kind of chill out, and all the other coaches are in there and wrestlers in the area and everything. We're watching the TV and seeing basketball, NBA get canceled and everything like that. And we're supposed to be on an email basis to see if we get canceled or not. So I would say up until about 5:30, everything was good. And then we're sitting in the hotel, and a couple coaches start murmuring and everything like that. And they're like, hey, Marchette, it's over. And then, my phone dings for email. And look at the thing, and it's over. It's over. Canceled. So now my work really begins. So now coaching, I don't want to say it's easy because it's not. But I believe my hardest part of coaching, when I say coaching, I mean like wrestling, setting up practices. That's what I've done my whole life. The hardest part is it really began then. So in my head, I have to take out what I personally want to accomplish in wrestling this year, being first year of a head coach, trying to push for a national title. So I got to take that out. I am nothing. What Sonny Marchette wants to do does not matter. I have to figure out how to contain 7, 8 kids with their dreams, parents that are there, and then a hotel full of kids that are in the same boat. And now you got that. You have a hotel bar, right? You got alcohol. I'm going, okay. If you are truly a coach, you'll be able to get these kids home safe and sound. That's my only care. So I gathered all my guys. Right when I got that, I texted everybody. I said, hey, meet in room 303. Everybody ran up there. I said, hey, got news. Because I really didn't want them to hear it from, everybody else. I want them to hear it from me. So gathered everybody, brought them into my room, broke the news. A lot of kids were crying and hearts broken. And at the time, I'm like, man, I can't even cry or even go in with them at this point because I got to be on the outside making sure I'm that figure that, is steady for them.
Yeah.
So, we'll figure it out. Please, guys, stay together. Don't go off by yourself. You need something, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to meet again, right? So now through the rest of the night, I'm trying to set meetings so they don't go off in the city and go haywire.
Yeah.
And get in trouble or what have you. So I try to set a couple more meetings. We all meet. And then it's like, well, let's all meet and go out to dinner. You guys, don't have to make weight.
Yeah.
So we all went to dinner, invited the parents, sat down, had a nice dinner, talked and, cried it out a little bit there. And then when we came back, I did something that, I thought was pretty neat. So me and the coaches were going to surprise the guys with singlets. They had no clue. So we got the new, national gear for them and everything. And in the whole year, we had bought Nike singlets and never showed anybody except for the 3 coaches, the only people that knew. So we wanted to break them out at nationals without even the guys knowing the morning of nationals, right? To give them another kick.
Yeah.
So unfortunately that didn't happen. And me and the coaches were talking. We're like, dude, what are we going to do about all these brand new singlets? That stinks. So I'm like, you know what? Let's bring everybody down. They're getting the singlets. So I brought them down to the lobby and had the parents. And, that was probably one of the tougher things, which was, I brought each kid in, Hunter Bray, here's your singlet, and presented them their singlet like, they were the national champions. That was, and they didn't know. So when they seen those singlets, they were just, hearts were just torn away.
Bray and Vizzetti don't come back. They're done.
Bray does come back.
Vizzetti's done.
Vizzetti's done. Alonzo Turner, he's done.
Wait, is he a Harvey guy?
Yeah.
I teach at Riverside. He's Harvey. It's the neighbors. It's a mile from my school.
Yeah. So Alonzo Turner came his senior year. He's done. Jordan Tague, who was our 65, who I believe had a good shot to do well at the national tournament as well, was his senior. So we had 3 seniors on there.
Jeez, Pete.
But I gave them all a singlet in the keep, right? Usually you just give them to your seniors for the senior gift and all that. But I just thought that was, we either give them for seniors or national champions.
Can you shoot me a picture of one of those? I don't even need to post it on social media. I just want to see it.
Dude, stay right there.
Oh, we're going to get to see it. All right. Love it. Let's see what Sonny's got there. He's got a lot going on there.
Dude, and he was the first in school to go this route. It was our first black singlet.
Ooh. I like that.
So,
What's the back? Just black?
oh no.
Names?
Hello? There's our new team little logo.
Bring that logo in. I want to see the logo. Oh, that's sweet, man. That's really cool.
NDC. Yeah, we all got one to keep. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a precedented year that people talk about for a long time. And, you know, I just thought it was important for those guys. They just felt so gypped. And I tell you what, I can only speak for my guys. They train to be national champions. And you know what that feels like. You know, they were training to be team national champions, training to be individual national champions. And not just training, but I believe each and every one of their mindset was about 99.99999% that they were actually going to do it. So with that mindset, they all got their heart broken.
Yeah.
Broken. You know, not just, hey, I didn't get my national tournament, but, you know, we had a collective goal that I believe they were like, man, I really wanted to win this national title for the team. So we were at that point to where each person was like, man, I'm going to do this for the freaking team. Not just the, 10 guys that traveled, but for the entire team, for everybody at home, for all the wrestlers at home from Notre Dame. I think we did a great job of keeping everybody together, the whole team, the whole year, down to the last practice. You know, our last practice was 35 plus kids, screaming, celebrating. On that Tuesday, I think we're going to come back with a freaking trophy.
Yeah.
That was our feeling. So, when it got canceled, I think all their, not just personal hopes and dreams, but like, being on that national team forever to where I think 20 years from now, like you said, I talked to, TJ Williams or Reggie Wright that were with me on those teams 20 years ago. And we always have that. You always have that. Me and Heskett and the Walsh Jesuit class just showed up there. Those guys, I don't care what time and point in my life or where I am. If I see any of those guys or talk to them, we've won national titles together, state titles together. So, and that's kind of the dream that I was, helping them with is, hey, this is why it's so important to train so hard and do what we're doing because, this is going to be for a lifetime.
Next year is going to be a wild year. We don't even know what they're going to do next year with any of it, if we're having a season or not, man. It's just, I don't, at this point, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know if it's productive to really have because we're so unsure what they're opening up, if this second wave, whatever is going to, I don't even know what to say at this point. You know what I mean, Sonny?
I agree. Things change so much every day and, it's getting harder and harder, I think, to control what you can control.
Yeah, really, it is, actually.
We're all taught.
Yep.
I think that's what we're all taught. So, only control what you can control. And right now, we can't control what we can control. And whatever we can control can change on a daily basis.
Yeah, they move the goalpost a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to open up what we're not going to open up. It's wild. And wrestling, I feel, it's very easy to target wrestling because it's a contact sport and you're in such close proximity.
I agree. And
I don't know what else to say. I mean,
it's tough, and what we can do right now, and I just look at this as kind of that downtime.
Yeah,
there's going to be something big at the end of this for us, and in the meantime. I just tell my guys, and we meet regular basis on a Zoom like this, and we try to keep things fun. We'll do new techniques, or the coaches show techniques, but getting up and working out, and only control what you can control. That's why I'd get up every day and work out because I'm like, I don't know what the world's going to bring after 9 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. Control the controllables. Be positive, right? Like, you want to be positive.
Yeah.
Control what you can control for the time you can control it, right? Like,
that's it.
That's it, man. Like hiking, like we're going to do here in a little bit. All Okay,
Yep.
we're going to wrap up here. We've been on almost 2 hours.
Awesome, man. It's been great talking.
Yeah,
It's been
awesome
great talking.
talking.
I try
Hopefully,
not to, and I do apologize on live, right, or online.
yeah, we're
here
good.
That I know you. I was reached out a couple times on my thoughts right after, the national tournament was canceled, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I didn't answer a lot of those calls because I just wasn't ready. I think to talk on it, and a lot of emotion. And I'm glad I didn't, just because there was a lot of things that have changed since then. So, some things I backed, a month and a half ago, that have changed. And other things I didn't back that are probably, what's going on now. So, I did hold off on some of those, and, and a lot of that was just to make sure my team aftermath was okay. I didn't want to say anything about seniors not yet getting another year, or, anything on that, because, it was all spectacle. It was all spectacle. Nobody knows if seniors are going to get a year to come back, or what have you. My opinions on all of that were across the board.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
the speculation as to whether they were going to get another year or not. They're giving the spring sport ones another year. They're not giving your guys another year. It's just wild, man. Wild stuff. You guys going to the skate park today?
yes.
What skate park do you go to? You go to Cuyahoga Falls? Where do you go?
Yeah, we go to Cuyahoga Falls. We go to Akron skate park, Cuyahoga Falls. I'd say Akron's our big one because not too many people go there. It's kind of on a private area. I mean, it's open to anybody, but I just don't think a lot of people know about it.
Secluded, if you will.
What's that?
Secluded, an area that people just don't know about.
Correct. So we go there. Cuyahoga Falls is cool, and we're going to be moving up to the Akron area or Cleveland area. But yeah, skate. Controlling what you can control.
Skate park.
Skate park.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
Got a scooter.
Okay, hey, I gotta send you some of the new stuff. The new stuff. That's the new one. We gotta get this. You gotta, next time I see you, or if I'm up at that Euclid Creek, I gotta bring you some new stuff. The new defense stuff. Obviously, it's the new logo. It's still the same, great product. I gotta get you that.
The packaging looks awesome. The packaging looks fierce.
Yes, they changed the game. Now, another thing, if I have one, I don't want to wear these, but Barbarian Apparel made me.
No way.
This is for my kids. These are youths. These are youth.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna have to give you one for you and your kids to wear.
Yeah.
But Barbarian Apparel and Josh Sassby made me some of those. So I like to give shout outs to my partners at the end of these conversations, Sonny. But hey, you got anything else for me? We good?
We're good, brother. I hope we talk the next time this way, as far as talking during the wrestling season. If not, I hope to see you in person, hopefully before then. But
yeah,
hopefully we're talking during the wrestling season, and maybe a pre-season opener kind of gig. And anybody watching this, the only thing I would probably promote would be my program. Go to Notre Dame Facebook page. We're doing fundraisers. We're doing a 5K run coming up, fundraiser for Notre Dame. And we try to promote that we want to keep the sport moving. So check out the Notre Dame Facebook page and see what we're doing. We're always doing something, fun.
Are you answering the question a lot? Where's Notre Dame College? Is that the Fighting Irish? Do you answer that question a lot?
Yeah, and I tell you what, depends on where I'm at. I kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
And who's asking the question? I've been in airports before, and oh, Notre Dame, they're back in the ACC and all that, or this, I didn't know football talk, but I'm like, I'll just raise it up and be like, okay.
Not even worth fighting the fight sometimes.
No, it was a Falcon, but we're good.
All right, hey, I'm going to cut this live video and cut this recording real quick. Stick around for a little bit, all right?